Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining for the first time, I appreciate your time. There's been a huge shift across the region and Africa is paying attention. The European Union is learning the hard way. Why am I saying this? The current European officials that went to the country of South Africa have come to the realization that the continent of Africa has the cards. According to the recent United States of America's president's comment, he said Ukraine does not have the card. But I think the continent of Africa has the cards.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards.
Africa is making choices, and at the moment, the African continent is looking for partners that should put in the millions and the billions on the table. That's why the current European officials that traveled to the continent of Africa, specifically to South Africa, have changed their language. They are talking from the point of strategic partnership, relationship building, and making comments to an extent slamming the United States of America that if others are withdrawing, we are engaging in the continent of Africa. How geopolitics can change within a couple of months. Let's play this clip.
Now, the EU's Ursula von der Leyen has a message for the US government, a subtle message that is.
We know that others are withdrawing, so here we want to be very clear with our message. We're doubling down with our support. We are here to stay.
South Africa has, of course, accepted this growing partnership as it is also part of the G20 and is currently in the G20 presidency. It has said that it wants to use these strong ties with the European Union to ensure that more business comes not only to South Africa, but to the Southern Africa region as well as to Africa as a whole.
It's only African leaders who are scared, who are afraid to talk about geopolitical issues. The United States can say, I'm going to fix the Ukrainian war today, and tomorrow you ask them, oh, I cannot fix it again.
This unbelievable, because we have people that don't know what they're doing. But if it's not solved, I will have it solved in 24 hours with Zelensky and with Putin.
It is important why African leaders must be bold enough to engage their strategic partner and make their positions clear. The United States of America's position at the moment has come to the realization to an extent to remind European partners that your Saudi neighbor, it's the most important continent you can ever engage. At this time, like Nelson Mandela said, that your enemy cannot be my enemy. Sometimes I sit and I laugh and I ask myself, geopolitics has no shame. And African governments should come to the realization that they can change positions if it comes to strategic issues. Because we've seen that in the United States of America, where people come out because they have no policy, they have no particular strategic relationship of engagement, the lack of geopolitical engagement, lack of foreign policy experience, lack of really proper geopolitical relationship. And they come about and cool countries that have been existing for years, since independence, since mankind. And they say they don't even know where these countries are. I think Ukraine don't have the card, but I think Lesotho has the card.
In the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
It is important for Africa to know that because the United States of America has become the friend of Russia all of a sudden, don't make no mistake. Make no mistake, let me say this. Mandela said, your enemy cannot be my enemy. And that's clear. Russia is the friend of South Africa. In the past couple of months, South Africa was the enemy of the United States of America. And today, South Africa has become a geopolitical foe of the United States. And we see European Union, or Europe in general, that was very close to the United States in slamming South Africa during the Russian-Ukraine war. In the United Nations, across other geopolitical spectrum, sanctions, they've come to understand that Africa got the cards. Africa got the cards. And that's why the European Union has come to the realization that the continent of Africa is the most strategic region at this stage, considering its burgeoning population, enormous mineral wealth, and a growing middle class that can, to an extent, become a huge purchasing power for any strategic investor today. That's why China has come to the realization that, like Wang Yi said, there will be no modernization without the continent of Africa moving along. Simple. If engaging Africa is as a result of, for an extent, building systems like the colonialists have done over the years, centuries, building systems that would exclude, disenfranchised, sidelined, not allowed to participate, not allowed to become members or to make their own significant contribution, not allowed to exercise their full potential. The Guinean leader said this kind of system does not work.
It's our duty to save the country and bring the Ghanaian people together. We will put a system in place for all of the people to come together, because a political system that is not inclusive is a system that is not based on peace.
So, for the European Union to run to Africa and put money on the table, in South Africa in this case, we're going to see more of this particular engagement coming in the next couple of months and years, because the geopolitical environment has changed. China understands the strategic engagement. So by the current European Union official running to South Africa, it simply means South Africa and the African continent as a whole got the cards. You can't say we don't have the cards. If Ukraine does not have the cards, Africa got the cards. So the United States of America will come to realize that by alienating South Africa, sidelining Egypt, looking at Djibouti as a strategic zone for its engagement with China in the continent of African soil, it would realize that China has again implanted itself from a strategic relationship of investment, development, growth, partnership that wins. And Europe was sleeping. And now Europe just all of a sudden making statement that we are here for the long run. That if others are disengaging, we are here. Geopolitics is a brutal game, folks, and Africa has woken up.
We know that others are withdrawing, so here we want to be very clear with our message. We're doubling down with our support. We are here to stay.
Donald Trump has, to an extent, informed Africa. Like the Ghanaian president said, we are arranging our budgets, we are cutting left and right to adjust things because these are critical times in African history. The European Union officials running to South Africa at the moment to invest, it doesn't come all of a sudden. It's as a result of the geopolitical environment. Tariffs slamming left and right, Mexico, Canada, China, the European Union, we're hearing about 200%. Egypt under pressure, South Africa under stress, and looking at other strategic partners, and you say that they don't have the cards. Africa got the cards. That's what I'm saying. So the countries of the continent of Africa must understand their strategic importance. With 28% of the voting right at the United Nations, Africans actually call the shots. And Europe have no other choice, because Europe involving and investing and engaging with China, China is investing in Africa. China understands the importance strategically of the continent of Africa. So this visit that the European Union officials ran to South Africa is just the beginning. It's more to come. Like I said, the Western advanced developed economies, to an extent, they're facing some saturation. And by ignoring Africa, because Africa has been perceived about its natural resources, Africa is not a begging continent. Africa needs real partners that we can work together from a whole lot of issues and areas. Africa cannot only be in the migration area. So if you consider Africa to be a thorn in the flesh, like a lot of geopolitical experts in the region, ambassadors, officials, government consultants, have looked into this and say Africa, in the eyes of other countries like Russia, China, is a very useful region, or is a continent with opportunities. But others, like United States of America and some European partners, perceive Africa as a problem to be solved. How shameful and disgraceful that has been. So running to Africa is a demonstration that Africa is a place where opportunities abound. Let me know in the comment section what you think with regards to why these leaders are running to the continent of Africa at this moment, why the current shift in the geopolitical environment has made Europe to come to the realization that the continent of Africa is the be-all and where everything will happen. Like Wang Yi said, there will be no modernization without the continent of Africa. And again, I believe strongly that Africa got the cards. And talking about Trump to an extent, he understands the importance of the region. And Europe sidelined with the United States a couple of months ago during the Joe Biden administration. But they have come to the realization that Africa is where the things happened. I want to thank you for watching. Leave me a comment with regards to why you think the European officials are running to South Africa at this stage to put the investment dollars on the table. And why do you think that the continent of Africa at this time should re-strategize and only go closer to partners that offer huge opportunities? That European officials failed to foresee the importance of the continent, and Africa has looked at China's model, like the president of the country of Sierra Leone once said. The relationship between the countries of Africa and China has come under scrutiny, and that they are not children, they know what they are doing. So it's important for Europe at this time to understand that it will not be business as usual. So I hope this partnership is genuine, it's based on true collaboration, on a win-win to an extent. Let me know in the comment section what you think with regards to this particular relationship and why African nations should stand their grounds in this stage. For now, I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
The European Union has announced almost 5 billion euros of investment in South Africa. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled the plans to support green energy and vaccine production during a visit to Cape Town. South African President Cyrile Ramaphosa said the bilateral summit comes at a time of economic nationalism, referring to tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Von der Leyen said the EU was eager to deepen its relationship with South Africa.
Today, we are together announcing an investment package to mobilize 4.7 billion euro in South Africa, and this is in both our interest. It includes funding for the clean energy transition, but also funding to boost vaccine manufacturing. South Africa wants to protect the health of its people as well as your autonomy and your local industries. We Europeans want to diversify some of our most critical supply chains, and we know that viruses know no borders. So that is what I call a true mutual interest.
Now, the EU's Ursula von der Leyen has a message for the US government, a subtle message that is.
We know that others are withdrawing, so here we want to be very clear with our message. We're doubling down with our support. We are here to stay.